Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's stream. Hoping this one goes a bit better than last night because I was kind of struggling. I think I restarted it like 3 times. Just give me a 1 in the chat if you can hear me properly, if my volume's okay. Just give me a 1 if, give me a 2 if there's audio problems, just so I can at a glance see. Any ones in the chat would be appreciated. Can you guys hear me? Fish or Givex or any one of you, can you just like let me know if you can hear my mic? Awesome. Okay, cool. I got the ones. Thanks, guys. Excellent, excellent. So yeah, I've just got a video playing in the background for some art, some Cosmere art that we all enjoy. Yeah, there is a bit of a hum in the mic. I'm not sure if that's the mic or the environment. I'll be trying to test different areas in my house to see if that makes a difference. If not, it might be the mic or it might be the PC. I don't know. I'll have to test that. But as long as you can hear me, I count that as a victory for now. All right, so let's take a look at just how many people we have here. That is, oh, we got quite a few people viewing us at the moment. 5 people already. It took us a while to build up to that number last night, so that's awesome. And do forgive me if I'm a bit slow, because, yeah, I'm a bit of a boomer when it comes to this. Last night was really my first ever stream, and this is my second ever one. So if I do mess things up, I beg forgiveness, right? I'm not a professional. Anyway, so basically, for the first half an hour or so of the stream, and I planned for it to go on for maybe about an hour, hour and a half, just depending on how much engagement we have, how much chatting we have in the chat over here. For the first half an hour, we'll keep it spoiler free. So if there's anybody who wants to ask any questions or things like that, do try and keep it spoiler free. I'll also obviously try and keep it spoiler free. At the same time, if you have any questions that are spoiler related, I would say just wait for that point. We're already a couple minutes into the stream, so just a bit of patience on that if you do have spoiler related questions. It also allows people some time to actually, come into the chat, come into the stream, things like that. Yeah, Fish, I know that you're not very far along in the Cosmere yet. I believe you're on Oathbringer at the moment, isn't that right? Because I think you said that in the Discord. I see Givex is here as well. Awesome. It's good to see all my Discord peeps here as well. Adam, I don't think I've seen you in the Discord, but I believe I've seen a comment or two from yours on the channel as well. Yeah, that's what I thought, Oathbringer. How far along are you? Because Oathbringer is, while I do agree it's not necessarily the best Cosmere, or rather Stormlight book, in my opinion, it does hold a special place in my heart because Dalinar, but yeah. Ooh, that's a tough one, Fish, because I think it's basically between the two classics. You've got Mistborn, which is Ash fell from the sky, which, I mean, that is such a short and concise sentence that at the same time piques your interest immediately. And then you have Way of Kings, which is Zeth, San Vallano, wore white on the day he was to kill a king, which is less concise, but at the same time, it just, prickles the imagination. So it's very tough. Personally, I think I would go with, I'd go with Way of Kings, with the Zeth opening line, just because it has world building baked into it, it has characterization baked into it, and it has like foreshadowing baked into it as well. So while I do like the Mistborn one, I'm gonna have to go with that. Oh, wow. 400 pages in. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Salamander, I'm not sure if you are being honest, because if you don't know what the Cosmere is, but you're on my channel, it's a bit. I mean, like, how did you find my content? But if you are sincere, it is basically a collection of fantasy novels in a shared universe written by the author Brandon Sanderson. If you really haven't ever read it, I recommend starting with Mistborn. Go get it and start diving in because it's a hell of a ride. Hey Josh, welcome. You're here tonight as well. Thanks for popping in tonight. For those of you who aren't aware, I said it in last night's stream as well. Josh was one of the original subscribers to the channel. Like I said, he's probably been here since around 100 subs. So, yeah, definitely respect to the OGs on the channel. Oh, really? Does it? It's funny. I haven't read Warbreaker in a while, but if that's the opening line, I kind of dig that. I can get behind that. I was actually having a conversation with another YouTuber today, who will shortly be making an appearance on the channel. There is basically I'll say the cat's out of the bag, because it is coming in the next week or two. I'm starting a podcast with another YouTuber. And basically, it's a Cosmere podcast. We will be discussing all things Cosmere, but we'll also be discussing Wheel of Time. We'll be discussing all kinds of things fantasy, but obviously, primarily Cosmere, because that's what I talk about mostly on my channel, and that's what she talks about mostly on her channel. And we were talking about Warbreaker today, and I actually hadn't even thought about the opening line for that. So, yeah, for any of you guys interested in a podcast, that will be coming to the channel very shortly. Let me just see. I'm falling a bit behind on chat, so let's take a look. Claydog says, I'm a slow reader, so I'm very picky of what books to read, lol, but do you recommend that I make time for Elantris? Claydog, I would say yes. Not for any major story reasons, but if you read Elantris before Rhythm of War, there will be a bit of crossover that you'll enjoy. There's I don't even want to call it a character, but there's an entity that makes an appearance in Rhythm of War. And having read Elantris, you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's from Elantris. So it's not major. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you have the time, I would say do it. If you can get an audiobook, you can blaze through it in basically a day or two. Yeah, like Josh said, it's basically a fantasy MCU. Oh, because of Daniel Green. Yeah, like I said, if you're gonna get into Cosmere, I always recommend starting with Mistborn. Start with the first Mistborn book because it's kind of written. The first one of the trilogy is kind of written in a way that it stands alone on its own. You don't have to read the sequel. So if you read Mistborn and you really didn't like it, you just couldn't reconcile with Sanderson's writing style, then at the very least you can still get a self-contained story within it, and you can kind of test the waters that way. Fish says, I need to finish the Stormlight books, Elantris, and some shorts, then I'm caught up. Well, you're not far from done with Stormlight, and there is Elantris. Like I said to the other person, do read Elantris first before Rhythm of War if you want that extra connection. So, and it also kind of breaks the monotony a bit of before Rhythm of War of just Stormlight. We have The God in the chat as well. I've seen you around for sure. Who with? I assume you mean the podcast. It's with a YouTuber by the name of Me, My Skirt, and I. She does Cosmere and fantasy videos and stuff. If I remember, I'll put her link in the description, but I will make an official announcement later this coming week. But it is with that YouTuber. It'll be like on a bi-weekly basis. So every second week there'll be a podcast episode out. But yeah. If you haven't heard of Me, My Skirt, and I, do go check her out. Love her content. Yeah, Finolfin, I agree as well. I got through it on my first try, but it's definitely my least favorite Cosmere book. As a fantasy book on its own, it's perfectly fine, but it's definitely not Sanderson's best work. But in all fairness, it was his first, so you can kind of understand that he wasn't at peak performance at that point yet. Uh, Fish, you're saying the biggest book I think I need to read is actually Warbreaker. I assume you're talking to Clay Dog, who or someone else in the chat. But yeah, Warbreaker I would read if you haven't started Stormlight or you've just read the first book. I would say read Warbreaker before Words of Radiance. Not a must, but it does give you that extra. Like if you get to the end of Words of Radiance, you'll know what I mean if you've read Warbreaker, because there's a kind of a reveal. I feel like I'm falling behind with chat here. Let me just see if I can not fall behind. Okay, let's see. Ariel says, is there any Cosmere book you wish had come out at a later stage so it could be more relevant to the current stories? Yes, Elantris. Even if it wasn't more relevant to the current stories, I wish it were later, because the concept is good, but Sanderson's execution leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. Adam Wise says, I'm ashamed to admit that the first time I attempted to read Way of Kings, I hated it. The explaining of the lashings, etc. was hard for me to mentally picture. Oh, really? I never actually had an issue with that. Was Way of Kings your first Sanderson book? Because I can kind of understand if you're not used to him and his style. But other than that, I never really had that issue. Givek says, and for me, Way of Kings was easy to get into, took me a bit longer to start Elantris. Yeah, I actually read Elantris and Warbreaker before I started any Stormlight, so I kind of had that as a bonus for myself. Let's see. Fish says, I might read Rhythm of War, read it before Rhythm of War, then I did read Warbreaker before Words of Radiance too. Okay, cool. What are your thoughts on possibilities of Secret History Part 2? It's definitely coming. I think Brandon's basically confirmed it. I don't know if it's going to be a Calcia-focused Secret History or not. He's basically said both. He's said, on one hand, that the next Secret Histories would be a Calcia thing, and then on the other hand, he said the next Secret History would be a Vasher thing back during the time of the Five Scholars. So it's difficult to say, but it is coming. It's definitely happening, and I'm thinking he's probably going to do a couple of Secret Histories throughout the lifespan of the Cosmere. Brian says, I read all of the Cosmere from Jan just last week, finishing with White Sands. Timed out perfectly for me. Awesome. So you're basically, okay, I wouldn't say just in time, because it's probably going to be another year until it's done, but you're all set now for the next Wax and Wayne book to come out. Umpteenth Dark Souls 3 run. Have you been playing any games recently? Man, I used to be a huge gamer, but lately I've had very little time for gaming. I think the last game I played, what was the last game I played? Probably, the last game I played was about maybe 3 weeks ago, and that was like a mediumly modded Skyrim. So that's what I played. I haven't played Dark Souls 3. I did play Dark Souls 2, but I don't want to lose my hair, because I would just end up pulling it out if I got too into those games. So it's been a while since I've really played any Souls games. Man, just reading that line at the end of Words of Radiance, that I had to jump into Oathbringer immediately. If you know, you know. So Way of Kings was your first. Yeah, that explains a lot. It's really just Brandon's style. If you had read Mistborn first, and maybe even Warbreaker, going into Way of Kings, you would be a lot more familiar with how he explains magic systems. And you kind of got to understand that sometimes he will just throw you into the deep end and just say, oh, this works like this works like that, and give it all to you in a single scene, but then go over it again later on, slowly explaining it, but just so that you have that bit of understanding going forward. Yeah, Way of Kings is definitely not a great starting point if you're not familiar with Sanderson. I would definitely recommend you, if you're a new Cosmere reader, don't start with Stormlight Archive. Yes, there is a second Warbreaker coming, Brandon has said, with the tentative title of Nightblood. Now, whether it'll be the story between Warbreaker and the Stormlight Archive, or if it'll be the story of Nightblood's creation, we don't know, but that's the title. That's literally all the information that I'm aware of on it. yeah, words of Brandon are not canon until it's actually published in book form, but it does give us an idea of, what his thoughts are and where he's heading with certain things. A lot of people like to treat them as expressly canon when they're really not, but it does help us understand his thought process and, where he's going with a lot of this stuff. Saying Secret History 2 would be about Kelsey. I never heard about Vash's Secret History, but also be cool. Yeah, I think I originally heard it would be about Vash's Secret History, and more recently, I heard it being about Kelsey's. And then there were people in the fandom saying, "Oh, now which one is it?" Most likely, it'll end up being Kelsey's, because I think Kelsey is becoming a much bigger character in the story than any others. So we'll have to see. Let's see here. I feel like I'm so behind on chat. Skyrim for life, yes, I love Skyrim. I think I'll always love Skyrim. I think I bought the game twice. I bought it for my PS3 years ago, and then my sister broke that, and then I bought the special edition again on Steam. It's a good enough game. I'm willing to pay twice for it. Let's see. Would you recommend reading the graphic novels to get into the Cosmere? When you say graphic novels, do you mean White Sand? In which case, I would not recommend starting the Cosmere with White Sand. If you say graphic audio, sure, that's a perfectly fine way to enter. I don't think I've heard of there being any other graphic novel types of any of the other Cosmere works. If there is, let me know, but I'm not aware of it. Yeah. Ending of Words of Radiance definitely hyped me up so hard for the next book. And great thing about Oathbringer is that it actually delivered, with that. It actually delivered with the hype by the end battle. If you know, and obviously you haven't gotten there, Fish, but just know that the hype that it gave you at the end of Words of Radiance will pay off at the end of Oathbringer. So just look forward to that. Let's see. Then, Fenolfin, you are a better man than I, because I enjoy the Souls games. I get frustrated at a point, and then I just stop playing it. So I don't know. Let's see. White Sands at least. Yeah, I'm struggling to actually get a good copy of White Sand, but apparently there's the Omnibus edition coming out soon, so I kind of want to get my hands on that. So that's what I'm looking for. Sanderson is by far my favorite author now, and Stormlight Archive is my fave series. Yes. I mean, I was going to say same, but I think that's kind of obvious for me that Sanderson is my favorite and Stormlight Archive my favorite as well. I am getting into Wheel of Time a lot more, and I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to dive into the next book. And with the audiobooks, they're so well done that I don't know. I used to not be as into audiobooks, but now I'm just really enjoying it, so I can't wait to jump into the next one. I have a few authors that I like equally, and depending on my mood, I might say that one of them is my favorite. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with just having a couple of core authors that you enjoy the works of, and not picking a set favorite, but saying you like all of them, and depending on your mood or the day, you could like one or the other more than the rest. So nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly valid. I actually haven't, Josh. I haven't read Sanderson's Dark One yet, but that is because I'm actually planning, because I haven't actually looked into any non-Cosmere Sanderson yet, but I actually want to start a series on the channel where I go through all the non-Cosmere Sanderson. So that would be like Skyward, that would be Dark One. There was another one, not Dragonsteel, but I can't remember. It's Dragonheart, something like that, but all the non-Cosmere Sanderson. So I actually will be going into that shortly. Why are you specifically a raven? Why not TW Pigeon? Well, my name actually comes from my pen name, my author name that I use, and it's kind of a play on, I think it was Lewis Carroll's line from Alice in Wonderland of how is a raven similar to a writing desk, and I kind of took that, and I also kind of like the symbolism of, ravens, things like that. I was also heavily into Song of Ice and Fire at the time, so that's how it happened. But hey, if I ever start a second channel or something, maybe I'll name it TW Pigeon. Why not? Oh yeah, Adam, I've seen like really cool Stormlight tattoos like online, and I've been thinking like I kind of want to get myself a couple. Maybe I should just pick one and go from there. But I've seen some really cool tattoos. Josh is asking Josh if Dark One's a Cosmere. No, it is not. It's not Cosmere at all. Are you planning on reading the Blade itself soon? You should really. Yes, Fish. Joe Abercrombie's works is on my TBR, and now that I'm getting more into audiobooks, I should actually be able to catch up very quickly. Okay, let me just see. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Whose character arc do you dislike the most throughout the Cosmere? Can I give you like two? And I'm just gonna say it straight: Serene and Raoden from Elantris. Just I don't like them at all. And that's not because they're bad characters. It's just because they really don't have much of an arc. Like I said, down to Sanderson just not being a very skilled writer at the point when he wrote it, because he was still new. But yeah. Okay, so that's actually pretty clever, Finolfin. That's pretty clever, because I'm assuming you mean like a raven can squawk, which is kind of a note in terms of sound, and also writing disk. I will give you that if that's what you mean. Pretty clever. Anyway, so it's been about half an hour. Let me just see what Fish said here. How many Lord of the Rings cave trolls is it to take down a chasm fiend? I'm pretty sure a chasm fiend will make mincemeat out of cave trolls from Lord of the Rings. A chasm fiend is huge and dangerous, and just it could crush them. In my opinion. In before the Lord of the Rings fans comes and demolishes me in the comments. Anyway, it's been about half an hour, so we'll open it up to spoiler questions. You can ask any questions or talk about any topics that's spoiler heavy and from any work in the Cosmere. There's no more restrictions. So for those of you who have not been fully caught up on the Cosmere, do be wary, because we are going into spoiler territory now. All right, Fish. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you around. Faulty, welcome, Faulty. Faulty asks, what art is in the thumbnail? It's an art of Hoid and Calcia that I got on the Coppermind wiki. I don't know if it's the actual scene from Secret History, because you can see Calcia has the eye spike, but it is Hoid and Calcia. And Calcia didn't have the eye spike in Secret History, but that's the only time they really interacted and kind of came into a scuffle, kind of a bit of a fight like that. I would assume it is. In all fairness, I think if you take a Chasm Fiend off of Roshar and the Spren couldn't come with it, it would probably just be crushed under its own weight, so fair enough. But that would be kind of unfair, and there's nothing wrong with having the trolls on Roshar. They wouldn't really be negatively infected. In fact, they'd probably have more agility, because I think isn't it lower gravity or is it higher gravity? I can't remember now. I'm pretty sure it's like 0.7 of Earth's gravity, and I guess we can assume that Middle Earth is Earth gravity level, so they would actually get an advantage, and the Chasm Fiend would still crush them. So I stand by my answer. Oh, hold on, let me just take a drink here, guys. Throat is getting a bit dry, but throw your comments and questions in the chat. Anything you guys want to mention, things like that. Have you read Aether of the Night? I believe that's one of Brandon's technically unpublished works, where it's something that he's wants to incorporate into the Cosmere, but it's almost like Way of Kings Prime. I know I haven't read it, but like I said, I do plan on going into non-Cosmere Sanderson on the channel soon, so keep an eye out for that for sure. Okay, let's see. Radiant Cave Trolls. If Cave Trolls were to join a Radiant Order, which order would they join? That is the question. Oh, is it canonically actually Earth? Well, there you go. And I would trust your judgment on it, Twinolfin. You seem like the kind of person who's actually probably read and understood the Silmarillion back to front and stuff like that. Matthew, not exactly sure what you're asking. Mira is on a sprint. I assume you mean Sprin? Who's Mira? Could you just like reword your question? I'm not understanding. Yoram asks, can you explain compounding? Okay, so compounding is essentially if you are both if you've read Era 2, it kind of explains it quite well. If you're both an allomancer and a ferrochemist, and you store an attribute within a ferrochemical metal mind, then ingest that metal mind and burn it allomantically, you would gain the ferrochemical power, but exponentially stronger in a strong burst. So if you look at Alloy of Law, you have Miles' 100 lives. He was able to burn gold allomantically, which is practically useless. You can only just see like shadows of yourself who you would have been had you taken different choices in life. But he was also a gold ferrochemist, meaning he could store healing. So he stores healing into his gold metal mines, then not swallow, but I don't want to spoil because the exact way he does it, because maybe you haven't read it, but he essentially burns the metal mines after he's stored healing in it, and that allows him to heal exponentially faster than a normal ferrochemist could, faster than a radiant could. Essentially, you could probably like shoot him full of holes, explode his head with dynamite, and he could still heal. So that is what compounding is. You store up energy essentially into a ferrochemical metal and burn it allomantically for a stronger ferrochemical effect. Okay, let's see. David Anthony says, okay, spoiler review based on the ending in Rhythm of War. Do you think Hoyd knows the trick Teravangian played on him? And do you think it'll be key for Hoyd to tell the other main characters who Odium is now? I don't think that Hoyd actually knows the trick that Teravangian played. A lot of people are saying that Hoyd does, and Hoyd is very crafty, and he actually got one over on Teravangian. But I personally, and because of multiple different reasons, personally believe that Hoyd is not aware, and that while Teravangian or Teravodium couldn't necessarily do much more to Hoyd than he did without Hoyd becoming obviously completely cognizant and aware of what happened, I do think that Hoyd is unaware at the moment. I don't think he did anything more than just changing some memories. A lot of people are saying, oh, maybe he stole some investiture, or he implanted something into Hoyd's breaths, things like that. I don't think that happened. I think it's purely a case of Brandon just using that scene to show us how much of a threat Teravangian is as the holder of Odium, because of how intelligent he is and how crafty he can be with it. So it's kind of just a way to display his level of threat. Let's see, not sure if you've seen it, but there's a recent wob about how Talon did not break. How did the new distillation start then? Did another herald die and quickly break, or what do you think? There's a lot of different... I did see that wob, and there's a lot of different theories. I know there's one theory that says that Shallan's mother is one of the heralds, and that when she killed that herald, they went to Braze, and that they broke, which allowed the desolation to start again. Because if one herald breaks, doesn't matter if Talon didn't break, they would both get sent back. Don't know if that is actually the case. And also you got to remember, the Everstorm never existed. So I'm thinking what happened is potentially Odium found a workaround with the Oathpact through the Everstorm, and once the fused were able to come to Roshar through the Everstorm, it kind of circumvented the Oathpact, which immediately kicked Talon out. But then again, the Everstorm wasn't around when he came back. That was like end of Way of Kings, and the Everstorm came at about the end of Words of Radiance. So I'm actually not sure It could be a multitude of different reasons, but I'm thinking with Ishar probably being a major player in the next book, and Dalinar learning a lot more about how to reforge the Oath Pact and what happened with it, and us getting Gavilar's perspective on the night of his assassination, we'll probably get an idea of actually what happened and why Taln came back. And with the way that Brandon gave that wob and the way he said it, I have a feeling that he was implying that we'll get a definite answer on that with the next book. Adam Wise asks, do you think there'll be any redemption for Moash? I hope so, because I think it would be probably one of the best redemption arcs that an author could ever pull off if Brandon not only manages to make Moash good, but also redeem him in the eyes of the fandom, because he is so demonized. So I hope he does get redeemed, and it seems like he is edging towards that trajectory, but I don't know if he will be. There's so much hate for him, and even if Brandon did try and redeem him, I don't know if the fandom is even ready to forgive him. Personally, I'm not saying the things he did was right, and I do condemn his actions, but I also enjoy a character like Moash that kind of, stirs the pot. And I guess Givex can even vouch for me on this, because he sees my tweets on Twitter. I do enjoy kicking the hornet's nest every now and then and tweeting that Moash did nothing wrong, but that's just because I enjoy pissing people off. Anyway, let's see. It's a decent book, pretty weird though, definitely not canon. Oh, I think you're talking about the Dark One. Yeah, like I said, I will get into non-Cosmere Sanderson shortly. What ideal do you think Shallan is on? Coppermine disagrees with my brother, so I'm quite confounded. Shallan's ideal... See, the problem is we don't know, because Shallan has 2 Spren. One is a Deadeyes, yes, but we don't know what ideal she got to with her first Spren, whose name I'm kind of blanking on now. I think it's Testament? But yeah, she could have gotten to the final ideal of the Lightweavers when she was younger, so we have no idea. As far as we're currently aware, I think she's only on the 3rd ideal with Pattern, but she could be way further. We just don't have confirmation as far as I'm aware. Maya Adeline's Blade. I think you asked earlier about... Let me just scroll up again. I can't remember now. You asked something about if she's an honor Spren. No, Maya is a cultivation Spren. So the Spren of the Edge Dancers. Let me see. Oh, Josh, no. Brandon confirmed that Taln did not break. So he was the only herald there, and he was sent back to Roshar, but he actually didn't give in. Something happened to send him back, but he was still holding strong. Did I take the Radiant Order quiz? I did, and I'm apparently an L scholar with some, what's the other one? Will Shaper. So, but primarily L scholar with like a margin of 10%. So I'm definitely an L scholar. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Givex just giving that information. We know there's a Kandra and Roshar. Who do you think it is? We don't know. I think the most obvious answer would be Felt's wife, but I don't think that would work. I doubt that Felt would marry a Kandra, but there's not really been any direct confirmation or even indication who it could be. So the best guess we have is Felt's wife, but even that is tenuous, and I don't agree with that theory either. Let's see. Man, I am behind on chat. Let's see. I'm going to try and go through these quickly. Opening line for Elantris is great. I don't recall the opening line for Elantris. Please put it in chat if you know what it is. What do you think Kelsey and Marsh did 300 years, or in the last 300 years, I guess you mean? No idea. That is the big mystery, is what has Kelsey been up to, and by extension Marsh, because we haven't really seen him except for that one scene at the end of Alloy of Law. So yeah, we have no idea, and that's what's likely going to be answered in the next Wax and Wade book. Do you think Brandon will eventually have the worlds of Rosha and Scadrial collide eventually? And in Six of the Dusk, do you think the alien culture watching Rosha? I think you mean watching is watching is Rosharian or Scadrian. Okay, so I don't think that Rosha will. In terms of colliding culturally, maybe because Cadrians will eventually have space travel. So culturally, yes, they could collide, and surge binding would allow people the ability to travel space in a way. So in that way, yes. The planets, no, I don't think they'll collide. And my personal theory on Six of the Dusk's aliens is that they are Scadrian, because I don't think they are Rosharan. They're more technologically focused in the same way that Earth is technologically focused. It's not Fabrial technology, it seems. So I have a strong feeling it's Scadrian technology. And that's my theory. There's really no evidence, but that's my working theory at the moment. Yes, I do enjoy kicking the hornet's nest. It's fun. Let's see. Could pull the redemption off, but there still needs to be consequences. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The only way for him to do it in a way that the fandom will accept is if there's proper consequences and people feel that he's properly atoned for, essentially his sins. So we'll have to see. Let's see quickly. Shalon on the fourth ideal. Huh. Let's see. Oh, that's true. You know what? I was actually completely disregarding the first ideal. Whenever I think about the ideals, I kind of forget that that's the first one. Like when I think of Kaladin and his first ideal, I think of when he protected Alokar, and then I'm like, oh wait, he actually swore the first ideal that all the Radiants share. I always think of them as what is the unique ideals as the first one. But yeah, you are right. She's on the fourth ideal, which means she's basically one away from the last, because I think there's only 5, isn't there? So yeah. Why are there so many Outscallers? I can't tell you, dude. I don't know. But we will take over and we will rule the world. Just you watch. Well, maybe. According to the website, Outscallers are just people who focus on self-improvement and becoming better in their fields, which I kind of identify with a lot. I don't know. Maybe theorizing is also in there because Yasna. So I don't know. I have been educated about Taln, but he seems broken to me. No, not him. Now him giving up makes more sense. But man, that man is not okay. Yeah. He's mentally very broken. Very, very broken, but he did not break in that he did not give up. Elantris is beautiful. Really? Ooh. You know, if you know the story of Elantris and the city itself, yeah, that's actually a pretty good first line. Oh, what's my favorite character? You can't ask me that. That's like, how do you pick one? From Warbreaker, I would say Vivenna. From Mistborn Era 1, I would say I would have been boring and picked, say, Zed or Vin, but I'm actually really enjoying Elend, and I'm rereading Book 3 at the moment, so I'm going to even go with Elend. For Stormlight Archive, it's Dalinar, and for Elantris, it's Rathan. Can you explain Vasha's origin? So Vasha was one of the 5 scholars, which is the 5 returned who basically created the most advancements for awakening on the planet. And he was a world hopper. All 5 scholars were world hoppers, and he was also the king of Halandrin, of Halandrin for many years. And then we don't know exactly what happened, but at some point he had to kill his wife because she created Nightblood and wanted to release the information on how to do that to the world. And he realized just how much problems that would cause. I mean, it's basically Nightblood is essentially a magical nuke. So he had to. Well, we don't know the actual story. It's just something we were told. So I don't know if we'll ever get an actual story that explains the nuances and how it happened, but. He ended up killing her, and I think he then went underground for a long time, and then the events of Warbreaker took place. But yeah, he was one of the 5 scholars of Nalthis, and probably one of the first groups of world hoppers in the Cosmere. Do you think cultivation will take a more active part in the next book? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think it would be silly of Brandon to not at least show, or at least hint at what cultivation's plan is, because she put Taravangian in the position he is now. She kind of pioneered that, so there needs to be some kind of a justification for that. Let's see. Skybreaker Master Race. You know what? If I had to pick an order purely on powers, I would pick Skybreakers. I think they are probably one of the most powerful orders in terms of just raw ability. If you could have one hemalurgic spike, what would you get, and where would you get it from? So basically, if I could steal one power from someone, what would I take? Man, one power, only one. That's tough. Because even with Surge Binding, I guess you could steal the Nahel Bond of a Spren. No, you know what? I would have a hemalurgic spike that stole the spiritual connection of an Elantrian and gave me the spiritual connection to Elantris that gave me access to the Aeon Door. I would do that. And that is because I mean, if you can basically decode the universe, why not? So yeah, that's what I would take. Oh, thanks, Josh. Prince Raiden of Arelon woke early that morning, completely unaware that he had been damned for all eternity. That's a pretty good first opening line. That's a pretty good line. Not the best, but I mean, for all the problems in that book, that's a decent opening line. Yeah, I'm also in the same way because, like I said, I used to think Vin or Say Z was my favorite Mistborn characters, but now rereading it, Elend is my favorite. Does Zeth have a shard blade along with Sword Nimi? He swore the third ideal. Yeah, he does. We actually haven't seen him summon it, but if you watch my video where I compare Zeth and Marsh and who would win in a fight, I do mention in there he does have a shard blade. He's on the third ideal. But I mean, if you've got Nightblood, do you really ever need to summon a shard blade? So he's never summoned it, but he does have it. So yeah. Let me see. Speaking of Cashier, I assume you mean Vasher and Vivenna. Where would you guess their whereabouts after the events of Oathbringer and Rhythm of War? Let me just take a sip of my drink here because my throat's getting dry. So their whereabouts. Vasher, I don't know if he was in Urithiru during the events of Rhythm of War. He might be. I know Brandon said that he wanted to include what was going on with Vasher, but there just wasn't space in the book, so he's going to basically elaborate in the next one. We have no idea where Vivenna is, because Vivenna, we last saw her in the cognitive realm. We have no idea. And Vasher, I'm not sure, because I feel like if he were in Urithiru, we would have heard of him, we would have seen him do something during all those events. So he probably isn't there. I have a sneaking suspicion that both Vasher and Vivenna will be in, basically they're going to go the same place that Kaladin is going. They're going to go to Shinovar. So, because I have a feeling that Kaladin and Vasher are going to meet in Shinovar, and they're going to have more moments like they had in early Rhythm of War and in Oathbringer, moments where Vasher imparts knowledge to Kaladin, but at the same time, Brandon's going to want to wrap up Vasher's story arc, or not wrap it up, but at the very least, catch us up on what was happening, so he's going to bring Vivenna in as well. That's my theory. What's more effective, soothing or rioting? I mean, I would say probably rioting. Soothing, you could basically soothe everything that you don't want and just leave the one emotion, but if that one emotion isn't very strong, I mean, it's strong in comparison to the rest, but it's not very strong, so it doesn't help you much. Rioting, you don't have to worry about soothing all the other emotions, you can just riot that single emotion, so probably rioting. To be an Elantrian, I believe you need 2 spikes, one for connection to the right land and another the ability to become an Elantrian. Do you need 2 spikes? Because you need the spiritual connection to Elantris, to Arelon, to be able for the Shayod to basically claim you in a way and give you that ability. Um, but does that require another spike? Because as far as we know, the only prerequisite is you need to be from that land. But is there a change to your spirit web if you become an Elantrian? I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look. Oh, there's a wob on this. Well, if you can find a wob, drop it maybe sometime in the Discord, and I'll look into that because that's actually pretty interesting. I've never thought of that. Fun fact: Nightblood is described as being made of steel like metal. IRL, often chromium is added to steel. Nightblood's primary ability very closely mirrors chromium allomancy. I mean, it's possible, 100% possible. I don't, however, think it really makes much of a difference what what metal he's made out of. Though, in all fairness, metal seems to be very important when it comes to any invested art. So, I mean, it could very well be. But unless we get an actual story on Nightblood's origins, I don't think we're going to know for sure. Do you think Kelsier gained new abilities other than allomancy? I think that he wants to, but I don't think he has. If he's still a cognitive shadow, I don't think he has, because allomancy is part of his spirit web, so he definitely still has that as a cognitive shadow. But I don't think he can add new abilities by putting spikes or anything like that in himself as a shadow. All he can do is kind of tether his shadow to another body. So until he gets his own body back, I don't think he's going to get any new abilities. But I would not be surprised if he gets his body back and then immediately does something to give himself further abilities. And he probably would give himself feruchemy. Because that's probably going to be the easiest for him to get. And that'll probably make him very strong. He had to create bands somehow, and it suggests he became a feruchemist too. Not necessarily. I mean, he just had to find a way to get unkeyed metal mines, didn't he? Would it be necessary for him to become a feruchemist? I don't see how a cognitive shadow could give themselves extra abilities, because you can't really spike a shadow. The only thing you can do is spike a body, but thereby attaching a shadow to the body, but you can't really add abilities to a cognitive shadow. Hey man, I have a theory about humans on Rosha and Odium. If Odium came from another planet before, what if he had brought the humans to Braze from one of the other worlds he ruined? Thoughts? Okay, so Odium came from, well, when you say came from another planet, basically the origins of humans on Rosha is that they were originally on Ashen, where Honor, I don't know if Cultivation was there as well, but Honor was there, and they worshipped Honor. And then Honor brought them to Rosha after Ashen fell. That is the origin of humans on Rosha. Odium didn't bring them. Or did he? Wasn't he originally the god of the humans? See, it's been a while since I've read it, and I don't want to read Stormlight Archive again, because it's on my plan for the Year of Cosmere read-through, so I'm waiting until then. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the origins are that they were from Ashen, and that they came when their world fell, and Honor came with them. So, I don't think that Odium had anything to do with them, because Odium was kind of, flying about the Cosmere, just wreaking havoc and killing shards before he came to the Rosharan system. Let's see. Like, I guess you could hope to become an Elantrian like a normal person through Shayot, but you can also use a spike. Okay, that's pretty cool, actually. So would I pick a spike that gave me a chance at becoming an Elantrian? Okay, no. I have a workaround. I would get myself spiked to become a forger, and then use forgery to make myself an Elantrian. Ha! I win. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You can use unkeyed metal mines. You don't need to be a feruchemist to make that. I don't think so. Yeah. Let's see. Humans did come from Braze. Never thought of Odium bringing... No, they came from Ashen. Not from Braze. Ashen is the planet that humans came from. Oh, I see you corrected to yourself here. What the Lord Ruler did for 1,000 years? He essentially just, preserved the world. remember, the Lord Ruler became a sliver of preservation. So even though he did horribly unspeakable acts and caused the deaths of thousands, he preserved the world and the final empire in a state so that essentially ruin couldn't work its influence and take over. If you read Secret History, you'll even see how preservation is proud of Rashek for preserving it, even though he did it in a very evil way. He was still preserving it, keeping it in a state of stasis for 1,000 years. Made them specifically. Yeah, no. As far as we're aware, it seems that humans were on Ashen previously. The only humans we know that were made by shards are the humans on Scadrial. All other humans are descendants from the original humans on Yolin. What do you think will be the eventual fate of Calcia and the Ghostbloods? Do you think they will be the biggest villains in the Cosmere, or do you think it'll be Odium? Personally, Calcia, he's kind of a rogue agent in that he's not evil, but he can do very evil things if it's to further his goals. So he's kind of like a chaotic neutral in a way. So he will do what he has to achieve his goals, even if it's evil, but he's not evil per se. And we did get a wob recently from Brandon saying that Harmony and Calcia, even though their relationship is a bit strained and they don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, they still consider each other friends. So if Harmony still considers Calcia a friend to an extent, I wouldn't call him evil. So I don't think he'll be one of the Cosmere's bad guys. It probably will be Odium. But I also wouldn't say Calcia is going to be, one of the heroes. He'll basically go to whichever side or help whichever side that'll further his own goals. Let's see. Rashek versus Zeth, no Nightblood, who wins? Rashek, because he has all Elementy and all Feruchemy, so he can essentially compound everything. I don't think that's even a question. Rashek essentially backhanded Calcia's head off his body. So, unless Zeth can withstand that kind of force, and that's not even Rashek like doing a proper punch, that's just a slap. So yeah, my money is on the Lord Ruler. Let's see. Yeah, basically a semi-stasis state, and that meant he had to cause genocide because he had to keep control of them somehow, but yeah. Evil, but he was working on behalf of preservation. So the humans lived by themselves on Ashen. At some point the humans destroyed their world. Maybe Odium was involved, who knows. They moved to Roshar where honor and cultivation were. Odium followed. Yeah, I think that's basically it. I know that no, that isn't, because the Oath Pact, wait. No, you are right. Because Spren, obviously, Honor Spren would not have been around without Honor on Roshar, and they were around when humans came. And when humans came, the Singers adopted Odium as their god. So yes, it does seem that Odium came with the humans after they destroyed their world somehow. Yeah, thanks guys for also helping me out here in chat, because as much as I like to make content on the Cosmere, there is so much information to keep straight that sometimes even I forget. I think we all hate Moash so much because we understand him to the core. We all like to think we would be Kaladin, but in reality we would be very likely to make the same choices as Moash. Yes, 100%, and that is why I like Moash so much, is that he essentially, he holds up a mirror to the reader. He basically says that, hey, if you were a second-class citizen in this society, you're of a lower caste, and your only family, your parents or your grandparents, the only people who you ever loved, got killed due to the negligence of the nobility, and you were now finally, and then after that you led a hard life which eventually led you to become a bridgeman in Sidious' bridge cruise where you would probably have died. You now finally have the chance for revenge, and then you take that revenge, and then the one man who you thought was your friend ends up who at one point said, yeah, I'll help you execute that revenge, changes his mind and ostracizes you. I think anybody in that situation would say, okay, you know what, screw it. Odium has offered to take away my pain. Sure, Odium, here, take my pain. I don't want to feel the way I feel anymore. My grandparents are dead. The friends I had condemn me. So yes, take away my pain. I will be your agent of death and destruction or whatever. And if that means killing some of the people that I used to call friends to get back at this one man who, or not even get back at, but to basically show this one man who I once thought was the only person who could ever understand me, if I could just show him that, or break him to the point that he would accept Odium as well. And I don't know, I think a lot of people would follow that same path. I'm overly simplifying it, but yeah, that's my opinion as well. I feel like Kelsey is going to be like a darker version of Hoyd. Maybe. He very well might be. Let's see. Welcome, Headcanon, welcome. Yeah, I think Rashek is the strongest human yet. Yeah, he definitely is. Vin was extremely lucky in being able to defeat him, but I think had he not died, he probably would have been the strongest being in the Cosmere, not counting shards, and potentially Hoyd. We don't know exactly what all of Hoyd's abilities are, but other than those, he probably would have been the strongest. You think Todium will continue Race's plans? No, because Race's plans was essentially to capture Roshar and train them for the war in the Greater Cosmere War. I don't think Taravangian has any, or well, he probably will want to do the same for the Greater Cosmere War. I do feel like he's still going to further those plans, but his execution, I think, is going to be very different than what Race would have done. Can a Shardblade / Nightblood kill Rashek? A Shardblade, yeah, either could, because if you cut someone's spinal cord with a shard blade, it essentially severs your spirit web from your body, I think. So no amount of compounding would heal that, and Nightblood can kill a shard. So yeah, Nightblood can definitely kill him. Okay, let's see. Man, I am behind on chat. Lot of chatting going on here. A lot of people interacting. I love it. Damn, Adam. You know what? Good on you for fighting that fight and getting over it, because that's tough. That's tough. Much respect, man. Much respect. I wouldn't even consider Moash a villain till the end of Oathbringer, and even then you could almost consider Vaya to be a different person. In Oathbringer, he's more of an anti-hero. Yeah, but then people saw what he did in Rhythm of War, and they condemned him completely. I do think Hoyd is more powerful than Rashek, but he also doesn't count as human, so yeah, Rashek is the most powerful human. Yeah, Rashek basically would be considered the most powerful human. Hoyd is a human, though. I mean, yes, he became a Dawn Shard, but you know, he's from Yolin. He's essentially from the first human populated planet. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, he is incapable of violence. He was actually very surprised that he could even punch Kelsier when he did, because he's physically incapable of harming someone else. So even if he is super powerful, it doesn't really make a difference. Let's see. There's a wob that Hoyd is most powerful, not shard entity, but he's not human anymore and can't really harm anyone. Yeah, other than the shards, and not counting the fact that he can't hurt anyone, Hoyd is probably the most powerful entity in the Cosmere, but obviously not shard level. Rashek burned the metals on his hands or just tapped them? So, the metals that he had on him was essentially for him to, gain youth and things like that, and they pierced his skin. So if the metal pierces the skin, you can slightly burn it, like we see Miles 100 Lives does in Alloy of Law. So I guess he was kind of burning them in a way. I'm not 100% sure on the actual mechanics. We have someone in the Discord who's very knowledgeable on allomancy and feruchemy and the metallic arts. He's constantly chatting. I don't see him in the chat here, but he'd be the right person to ask about that specifically. How about honoring the promise Reyes made to Dalinar to meet and settle things? He's still going to do that. That contract is between the Shard and Dalinar. So even if Odium or Taravangian didn't want to honor that agreement, he has to, because it's binding. So that part he still has to do. But the rest of the Reyes' plans about the larger war, don't know if he's going to execute it the same way. But I think he is still going to go towards the same goal. Maybe with different motivations though. Favorite weapon? Okay, so do you mean in the Cosmere? Because other than Nightblood and Shard Blades, there really aren't any weapons that's a major part of the Cosmere. I mean, there's magic systems. If you're talking about just medieval weapons in general, I would say the spear, definitely. Spear or halberd, essentially anything with a polearm, because ultimate reach and if you have like a halberd, you can kind of pierce some rudimentary armor as well. So I would say that. Headcanon asks, Hoyd used to be human, but hasn't Brandon said that he doesn't really count as one anymore? Also, I forgot the fact in his ability to harm people, so he's still the most powerful, but not in a fight. Yeah, so Hoyd is technically... I mean, he's a Dawn Shard, he's an ex-Dawn Shard, and he's gotten so much investiture that you can't really consider him the same as a normal human, but he's still a human. Like, nothing physically has changed with his physical body since he was just a regular guy back on Yolin. He's just gotten a lot of investiture, and his spirit web has been altered drastically, but he's still a human. Dawn Sliver. I've never actually heard that term, Givex, but I like it. Dawn Sliver, someone who was once a Dawn Shard. I mean, it's probably very rare for that. That's why I likely haven't heard it, but I really like that. I'm going to use that going forward. Not Cosmere specific. Yeah, then definitely spear or halberd. Because, I mean, I could say something like a gun, but I don't think we're talking about modern weapons here. So in the terms of medieval weapons, yeah, halberds are awesome. And spears. I'd probably pick a spear over like a halberd, but if I had to pick, if I'm fighting an armored opponent, I'd pick that. Let's see. Hoyd was a Dawn Shard. He was once a Dawn Shard. He's no longer one anymore. We don't know the whole story behind that. That's just what Brandon has told us in a wob. So I guess I don't know if we're going to learn more about that in coming books, or if we'll have to wait until Dragonsteel. But yeah, he was once a Dawn Shard, so that's basically changed his spirit web, so he can't eat meat, he can't cause harm to other people, so it's definitely changed him in certain ways, but he's no longer a Dawn Shard. Dawn Shard God, maybe Brandon said could call him that, not sure, but also like it a lot. Yeah. Yeah, he's still... the Dawn Shard altered his spirit web, but he's still technically, physically a human. So, I mean, Josh, that's kind of cheating. If you're just going to go with a bomb, that's... I mean, my spear stands no chance. Favorite character from Wheel of Time so far? I would have to say... Oh, that's tough. I'm really liking Perrin. I've just finished book 3. I'm really liking Perrin, but Matt is starting to really grow on me. And whatever is going on with him and his luck and the ability to just be lucky all the time, I'm really liking that. So I can't wait to see where that goes. So yeah, I haven't gotten further than book 3 though, so don't spoil it, please. I'm going to read book 4 in the next week. And you'll probably see a review for book 3 coming out soon. But anyway, guys, we have been going on for a while now, so I'll give it another 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap up the stream. We've been going on for quite a good length of time. So if you have any further comments or questions you want to leave, take the time now in the next 10 minutes before we wrap up. And I just want to thank you all for coming out and showing support to the first planned stream that I've been doing. I do want to try and do these if not once a week on the weekends, at the very least once every second week, because Yeah, I really enjoy interacting with you guys like this. And also, before I forget, do go look up Me, My Skirt, and I, which is the other YouTuber I'll be doing a podcast with. You'll be seeing it coming out on the channel in about a week or so. So definitely check her channel out. Sorry, it's pretty late over here, so I'm almost falling asleep over here. Let me see. Best compounding powers. Um, that's tough. I don't think you can beat gold compounding because, like, yes, I could have extreme strength, or I could have extreme speed, or mental agility, or physical agility. I could have all these things, but if I can literally heal from having half my body blown up, or from being just almost a skeleton and just heal my body, I would just pick that, because no matter how strong you are, you can't kill me and I can just wear you down, in my opinion. So I would still pick gold, probably. Matt will grow on you as you get further in the series. Awesome. Awesome. I'm excited. I'm really enjoying it so far. Um, yeah. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I'm really enjoying it, and I don't want anything spoiled because it seems like major things are going to happen. So we'll see. If you could have one cosmic power in real life, what would you have? Okay, so I always pick Aeon Door because obviously it's super powerful. But I've always said, as just a general everyday magic, just for the average person, I would love to be a full ferrochemist. So not Era 2, but Era 1, full ferrochemist. And that's purely because just the amount of utility you can get out of it. I mean, imagine storing up wakefulness, and then you can essentially not have to sleep for a week, or storing up physical strength and things like that. Just like I said, it's very much an everyday thing you could use. So I could essentially give myself all kinds of physical abilities, and I would just have to be weak in that aspect for a while. It's very well balanced. It works. It's almost limitless, and you can kind of burn. I don't want to say burn, but you can utilize all that power in a single burst or slowly. So I really like ferrochemy. If I had to pick an everyday magic, if I just wanted to be powerful and take over the world, I would say the Aeon Door, but definitely ferrochemy. Any skilled Radiant versus Aes Sedai, male or female, who wins? From what I've read of the Aes Sedai, probably them. I mean, just from book 1, the things that Moiraine did, there hasn't been a lot of magic, like big magic, recently in the book that I read. But I mean, the way that Moiraine fought with her staff kind of tells me that unless the Radiant has Shard Plate, actually, you know what? The Radiant might win. I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about Wheel of Time. The Aes Sedai seem very powerful, and especially the Aes Sedai from the Age of Legends. But I don't know enough to actually make that comparison. Once I finish the series, ask me again. For now, I would say probably the Surge Binders, just because of Shard Blades. But my instinct wants to tell me it's the Aes Sedai, just because they seem like they could potentially be very powerful. Yeah, Matt kind of seems like a bit of a crazy character, so. Do you have any published books? No, I do not, but I plan on having them one day. I'm working on one that I'll probably talk about on the channel at some point if there's enough interest. I've written a couple of books that never got published, that I never really took further, because I don't feel like I'm ready yet as an author. I haven't honed my craft yet, but I have written a couple books that will never see the light of day. But yeah. Mistborn is better than Ferrochemist, I assume. It depends on what you want. I mean, do you just want to be powerful? In which case, a Mistborn with enough metal vials could probably outdo a Ferrochemist, unless that Ferrochemist knew to store up the necessary aspects over time. So, let's see. Oh, that's just a reply. I'd pick Radiant ability. Yeah, I really like the Radiant abilities, But if I, like I said, if I'm living my current life, I would pick Feruchemy. But if I had to like protect the world or be like a hero, I'd go for the Aeon Door, or probably the Radiant abilities, depending on how quickly I need to be able to fight. Because if I have enough prep time, I'd still pick the Aeon Door. I can just undo whatever my enemy throws at me. Oh really? Okay, well then, yeah, my instinct was right in that aspect. Okay, guys, I'll give it another 5 minutes, then we're gonna wrap up. So we'll close off in the next 5 minutes. This has been a fun stream, and I really appreciate all of you guys coming out. I haven't even been looking at the analytics, but it seems like we at the peak we had about 17 people watching. So that's awesome. I mean, that's way better than I thought we would do, because last night I think we only had like 7. No, I think it was closer to 10 at the highest. So, and that was unannounced. So I'm pretty happy. And I appreciate all of you guys for turning out. Everyone from the Discord, everyone that just watches me casually, things like that. And if you haven't yet, and you are watching now, please do click the like and subscribe button. The likes obviously pushes out in the algorithm, and subscribing helps you see my videos more often. So that's always appreciated. Yeah, Josh, I actually really enjoy a lot of the art from the Cosmere, and I kind of wish that I could compile a single video with all of it, but there's just so many. If any of you enjoy any of the art I have in my videos, I would say just go to the Coppermind, which is the Cosmere wiki. It's all on there, and it's attributed, all the art is attributed to the artists. You can even find their social media links. And all the art used in this live stream is in the description. The artists and their links is in there. I've made sure to do that. So definitely check them out. I really enjoy all the art. It really brings the Cosmere and the worlds to life when you can actually visualize it. Brandon says the Lord Ruler has children. Do you think we'll see them? I don't think we will see them, but yes, that is true. A lot of people aren't aware, but the Lord Ruler had children. We don't know what happened to them. We have no idea what happened to essentially his genetic line. But yeah, Rashek had children. Also, fun fact, Rashek at one point considered giving up his title as Lord Ruler and no longer wanted to rule the Final Empire at one point. But if I remember correctly, he apparently decided that he couldn't leave humanity to that fate, and he couldn't trust anybody to essentially be there when Ruin tries his shenanigans again, so he just stuck with it. I think that's why in Final Empire you kind of see how he just seems bored and tired of being a ruler. So yeah. Do you think Spook is alive? I don't think Spook is alive. I think he potentially has had children that might be misborn, but I don't think he personally is. Unless Calcia kind of helped him stay alive. They could have done that actually, because Marsh is, and he's obviously got a lot of spikes. So if Calcia convinced Spook to get spiked, and we know that Spook had that diary on hemalurgy, it could very well be. I personally don't think it, but that's just because I didn't see any hints other than that, but he very well could. Yeah, like I said, it's very possible that he is. I don't think there was enough evidence or hints to say that he is. Nothing really shouted to me that, oh my gosh, is that Spook that's behind the scenes? But very likely. You are very welcome, Adam, and thank you very much for watching them. Obviously, wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for you guys. Wouldn't be making the videos if none of you were watching, so appreciate it as well. Geez, 18 kids, really? Damn. I don't even want one, and he had 18. I mean, he was a king, so he could probably pull that off, but yeah, wow. Why the Lord Ruler allowed the Scar to be abused? That's a long topic. Essentially, he needed a working class to keep the status quo and to keep society at an equilibrium. And if that meant that there had to be a class of people that was abused and treated like slaves, then that's what it meant. But I could do a whole podcast on just the dynamics of the Scar and the nobility within the final empire. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I do appreciate all of you guys coming out and turning out for the stream. This was very fun. I am knackered. I am extremely tired, and my voice is starting to go. But really appreciate all you guys coming out. I'm gonna end the stream right here, and then I guess I'll see you guys next week with the next video, which I think is going to be the Wheel of Time review, book 3 review. Yeah, the book 3 review. Anyway, thank you very much for coming, guys. Like I always say, my name has been Raven, and I will see you all next time. Take care, everybody.